Welcome to Let's Be Well Together podcast. You're in the right place, the perfect place, if you're looking for a wellness check-in team whose goal is to remind you to think about wellness and encourage you to make wellness a priority. It all stems from my book, Accidentally Well.
This is episode 38.
A territorial acknowledgement improves allyship with Indigenous people. As part of a reconciliation process, we make our podcast from lands located within the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We acknowledge the presence and traditional knowledge, laws, and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land. We are treaty people, responsible to honor the original caretakers and to serve as stewards for the land.
Okay, and welcome back to another week of Let's Be Well Together. It's Sammy and John here with another facet activity series where we're going to kind of talk about different things that you can do to improve your wellness day to day.
That is so nice, Sammy, because I know it's kind of a mouthful, like, this isn't really my thing, John, but I'm happy to talk about this stuff. But but again, like, I really feel like there's something in this to kind of demystify the wellness pursuit, which is if we can figure out what categories make us well and we can figure out what activities foster each category, it demystifies things. So environmental wellness. So can you give us, for example, one thing that you can think of that you can do or do that enhances environmental wellness for you?
Yeah. So something I've been very aware of recently is how much water is wasted, whether that's I'm brushing my teeth and I let the water run while I'm brushing my teeth or rinsing or anything like that, or the shower waiting for it to get hot before I go in. So something I actually saw a girl that I went to high school with, she posted on her social media page, and she said to save water and to conserve your water intake when you're waiting for the shower to get hot, instead of just letting it run, put like a little mason jar under the tap and then save the water, and then either use that water for watering your plants or for other purposes, using it as a cleaning type of thing. So I thought that was really cool to
That's interesting because, you know, when you were starting to go through your list, I'm like, there's some things, sure, I can turn the tap off when I brush my teeth.
Yeah.
I've been frustrated lately, actually, because a lot of times before I put something in the dishwasher, I rinse it. But lately I've been working with a lot of bowls that have like sticky stuff on the side. And instead of just putting like a little bit in the bottom and then scraping, I just fill up the bowl and let it sit there for a few minutes and then wipe it off. And I'm like, I got to stop doing that.
It's crazy how much water we use in a day. Even
maybe I got to bring those bowls to the shower.
There you go. Bring them to the shower. Bring in the heat and bring some soap. Start doing your dishes in the shower. Brush your teeth in the shower. Make it all one thing. But there was this one guy on TikTok that I thought was really funny. He was doing he was in a coma, then he woke up like 100 years later or something, and it's all these people, and he was like, "Oh, can I get some water?" And they're like, "Water? Like, what is that? Oh my gosh, you tasted water?" And they're like, "So you tried your very best to conserve it when you were on the planet, right?" And he was like, "Well, we could have done better. Sometimes we would just like fill up a cup that was clean with water, and we would just rinse it out and rinse and pour, and just with more water to fill it up with more water." And I was like, I do that all the time.
Oh man, now I'm feeling pretty guilty here.
I know.
But it's a great example of something each of us can actually do to enhance environmental wellness. Yeah.
How about you? Anything that you're actively
I'm still stuck on this too, because the other point too is it's just so easy in this life to be like, that guy woke up 100 years from now, not my problem.
Right, exactly. And also that's actually something I learned in Cambodia as well, and in India, like a lot of the times the water you're using is rain water. So they catch the water and then you just use a bucket of the rainwater to kind of rinse off. And, that is a great way to conserve water. Obviously, here it's a little bit different because we have access to well systems and everything like that. But it shows that, there are some countries that may not, in our mind, be as well off as Canada or the US or any first world countries, but they are actively trying to save the resources they have every day.
And this isn't just a wish list item or 100 years from now. Like, I don't know if you've been watching what's happening with Lake Mead in the States.
Yeah.
Some of their other big lakes. I mean, it's desperate.
It is, yeah.
And And then when rain finally comes, it comes pouring down really fast and creating floods.
Yeah.
So definitely it's I think it's a great idea. And I think each of us can be well served. And we're going to talk more about conserving water, because that's one of the kind of the central things we can do in this time.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about something totally different.
Yeah.
And we've kind of touched on this with Sheila, which is I didn't realize for a long time. So I was a messy person. So when I started going out with Sheila, I lived on my own. So first I lived with some roommates, and then I lived on my own.
Yeah.
And she's a clean freak.
Yeah.
I am not a clean freak.
Yeah.
I'm not a slob, but in some ways I guess that. I was. Like, for example, I would leave dishes in the sink for a long time, like a few days.
Yeah.
And I would make the bed if someone was coming over.
Right.
Not necessarily. And, what's the problem with clothes being on the floor and that kind of thing. And I never really thought much of it. And then a while after being married with Sheila, she's so clean, like everything's clean. It's in the right place. I feel better.
Yeah.
Like I feel mentally better. I feel probably physically better. There's probably less dust.
Right.
And I think it's something that people might not connect with environmental wellness. But
right.
The idea is the way you live is your environment.
Right. Yeah. It's your space.
So whatever your space is in your house, that's part of your environment.
Yeah.
Outside your house, in the world, is part of your environment.
Yeah.
And that stretches out to the entire world.
Yeah.
But, if you start in your bedroom, for example.
Yeah.
The thinking is, if right now you're living in a messy bedroom.
Yeah.
Just try cleaning it up.
Yeah.
For a few weeks and see if, like me, it changes you to having a better mental outlook.
And that's actually a saying too, where it's like, I can't remember the exact saying, but it's something like, when you look at your room, it's a reflection on your life. So if it's nice and tidy and organized, you feel like you're organized. And for me, my room can be very chaotic at times. And I think that when my room is like that, I am also feeling a little bit chaotic, disorganized, and just like I don't really have everything together. But as soon as I make my bed or anything like that, I do feel like a sense of calmness.
I never really thought of that before, but if we kind of draw an analogy, if what we're trying to suggest is get a handle on your different areas of wellness and try and balance yourself.
Yeah.
What do you need this week for balance?
Right.
I think you're right. I think a really messy room is a sign that right now you're not balanced.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the whole problem.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a sign of a problem. So
yeah, some people say that if you just wake up and the first thing you do is make your bed, you'll maybe not automatically, but you will feel better for the rest of the day, because you'll feel like you accomplished one thing. And maybe doing that one thing is the start of a very successful, accomplished day.
I do think too, though, that there's a difference between making a bed because, for example, you're told to.
Yes.
If you have to make your bed every morning. So you get up and you kind of begrudgingly make it.
Yeah, it has to be a choice.
But if you get up and you're like, this is part of me being balanced, living in an environment that's clean.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good. It might be a different feeling.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, I think that's important.
Well, it's a bit of a short one, but those are two great ways that are really manageable, practical ways where people can try and enhance environmental wellness.
Definitely.
Guests are giving their time, expanding our minds. We are back to the area of spiritual wellness today, and we're back with our friend Shirish Nathwani, who's going to tell us a little bit about the Hindu holiday of Diwali. Just to refresh your memory about Shirish, he is a retired physician and surgeon living in the Waterloo region of Canada. He's a humanist in essence, and he brings with him the perennial Hindu traditions from India. He sees himself as a dedicated medium in bringing lasting happiness to one and all. So welcome back, Shirish. How are you?
Thank you. Fine, very well.
Okay, so last time you were good enough to give us a really high-level overview of some of the Hindu outlooks and beliefs, which we really appreciate. And today we're diving into something a little more specific, which is the annual holiday of Diwali. I'm hoping that you can explain to me what you celebrate, what it's about, how is it celebrated.
Thank you for having me, and so nice to be able to talk about celebrations. Diwali is the most popular celebration in India. It is a celebration for all. Diva means light. Light becomes very important because light signifies knowledge, light signifies brightness in one's life and joy. Diwali has many stories behind it, but the most important story behind it is that it was a prince who was exiled from his kingdom after 14 years, and he comes back, Prince Rama. And the day he comes back is celebrated as a day of the light coming back in the lives of those people. In brief, the story goes that he was exiled because the stepmother wanted her son to be the king just the day before he was going to be coronated. And the son was away at that time. But so he leaves the kingdom, because he was exiled for 14 years. So he goes to the forest. His wife Sita decides to follow him. While they were in the forest, the wife gets kidnapped by an evil king, and Ram searches for her because they kidnapped her in a tricky way where Ram didn't know where he was, and so on. Ultimately, he finds it, and with the help of an army of monkeys and bears, he manages to defeat him and come back on that particular day. That's the day of celebration. It's a day people do various things. For example, symbolically, the story of Rama is recited in many homes. The evil king is a symbol of his is made, and is burnt to the fire kind of thing. Victory of goodness over evil. And that's the theme of Diwali. Victory of goodness over evil.
Celebrating the victory of goodness over evil.
That's right.
Okay.
The way it is celebrated is that people wake up earlier than usual in the morning. The young children, the first thing they do is to go to their parents, they touch their feet. It's a symbol of reverence for the parents, And parents usually not only bless them, but often give them some gifts. And nowadays, mostly it's a little bit of coin or some money, depending upon the age of the child. Everybody gets ready early in the morning with new clothes. Sometimes it's like it at Christmas. Sometimes it's the day in which you gives new clothes. First, every year, the new clothes are usually bought at that time.
That's a tradition that you wear new clothes on Diwali?
That's right.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yes. And nice meal. They do colorful designs on the front entrance using colored powders. Sometimes it's flour, and so on. There are different colors, and they make a design. It's called rangoli, Rangoli. The house is decorated, balloons, firecrackers. But the main thing is that all the friends, family, neighbors get to meet each other, come, greet, share a little bit of sweets with each other. A day of family gathering, very similar to Christmas. And the day ends with prayers. People go to temples, and again celebrations. Basically, what is the practice of Diwali.
And would different people have a get together at different times of the day? Is it usually at night, or do some people get together in the day, some people in the afternoon, some people at night?
Yeah, usually the day among the Hindu begins at 6 in the morning, at the sunrise in the morning. So that's the day of Diwali. And usually the day is supposed to end at sunset. So, and the celebration is usually done. Some celebrations are done in the daytime, some are in the evening, but this particular celebration is done in the daytime because Ram was supposed to be born in daytime. Nowadays, of course, we celebrate it quite late at night as well,
Yeah, I was lucky a few years ago, and a friend of mine who's Hindu invited my wife and I to a Diwali get-together. And it was scheduled for 7 o'clock, so we showed up at 7 o'clock. And nobody was there for quite a while. And we were politely told, John, just so you know, next time you come to a Diwali party, if they say it starts at 7 o'clock, that doesn't necessarily mean it's right on the button. You're okay to come like an hour later. I don't know if that's tradition, but that's what happened with the party that I went to.
Yes, that is become the tradition nowadays. And time is immaterial. You come early, that's fine too. If you come late, that's fine too. There's no time is become, because it is whatever is convenient to everybody. It's a day of celebration. That's why it's given that looseness to it. There's no formality. Just as there's no formality in the churches, in the temples that people go to. Most people don't bother to go to temple because they have a temple in the home. Right. They have a little corner there, temple. So there are no formalities.
It was really wonderful for us because it was new to us. there were a lot of people at the party, and they told us a little bit about here and there, and we got to learn a few things. And what I don't recall, though, is at a certain spot, at a certain point of the night, everybody got together in one room, and there was a bit of a shrine set up. And I think it started with some of the daughters did something at the shrine, but I can't remember exactly what it was. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, it's called Puja.
Okay.
Puja is a ceremony you do, and this is a ceremony. You light lamps. This is the important thing.
Right.
Sometimes you make your own diva. You make a little in a little clay dish, from clay or even from flour. It's mixed in a bit of oil and water. You make a cup, and in that cup you light put a wick with oil.
I think I remember seeing that.
When you did that little ceremony, you're waving the light at the deity. And remember, different family members may have different deities. These are different aspects of God. And they're all valid paths to the divine.
So I think you said earlier that Diwali is a celebration, and light's very important to it, is a celebration of lights?
That's right.
And so can you help me just go a little bit further when you were saying light has a lot of meaning in the Hindu belief?
Yes.
Knowledge and happiness. What are some of the things you can tell me about that?
You see, light purifies. It's like fire. Fire purifies. You can contaminate the earth, the waters, the air, and nowadays even space. But fire you cannot contaminate. It purifies. Whatever you put in the fire, it purifies it. So it is a great spiritual significance. And in all religions, there's a candle or some kind of fire ceremony among the Aborigines or among various people. And fire plays an important part, especially even in Hinduism.
Now that you mentioned that, it reminds me too. So my wife and my daughter actually took a trip to India some years back. And one of the places they went was Varanasi, where there was the tradition where there were many funeral pyres. And is that the tradition there, why there's cremation? Because the fire is purifying the body?
That's right. It purifies the body and brings it down to the ashes. Meaning that's very camphor. We go back there. Because the spiritual aspect, this is just your body. The spiritual aspect of you and your tendencies has moved on to another place, And of course, don't forget, India is a big population. You can't afford to have graveyards.
Right.
So
that's true.
But this may be a practical reason. And also it's good in case if there's disease in a human being, to be burned to ashes, basically. So it's hygienic as well. But it's ceremonial. People like to have it done on a fire like that. It's a grand thing to have it next to a holy river where the ashes enter into the water. So the relatives feel good.
And in some of the Christian traditions, things like Christmas or even the more broader traditions like Thanksgiving, you often have kind of similar foods at the holidays. So turkey at Thanksgiving and that kind of stuff. Are there any kinds of foods that are popular at Diwali?
Sure, there are. Remember, most of the Hindus generally would not eat any meat, especially not at Diwali. Fish in the fishing area is normally eaten, but otherwise they have preference for life, and generally they don't, at least in the part I come from, most people are vegetarians, but there's special reverence for the cow, so you never have beef because it's like your second mother, and also cow represents earth because it's such a meek animal. Sweets are a big thing.
Sorry, what's a big thing?
Sweets.
Sweets are a big thing, yeah. Yeah, I knew that a lot of people from India didn't eat cows, beef, but you're saying a lot of people from India are vegetarians generally, that they don't eat. They eat fish, but not land animal meat. Okay. And what are some of the favorite sweets? Are there cakes? What kind of sweets do they make?
No, cakes are not Indian. They don't go for baked food so much. They go for fish made out of either dairy ingredient or dairy, sugar, and ghee. Ghee is clarified butter,
Gotcha.
Butter that's been boiled and all the protein, everything out when it's purified like that. So it's a combination of that somehow. And there are so many different types. They're made into round balls or sometimes into squares and so on. They're all homemade. And I can't talk about it. They just be tested to be
well, I'm remembering back to the party, and I've got a sweet tooth that it's hard for me to resist. And now my mouth's starting to water thinking about all that food. So, okay, well, look, this is a good place to wrap up. Thank you for telling us a little bit about Diwali. And we'll be sure to talk to you again, hopefully one day, about some other things. And you might remember that at the end of every show, I ask a guest the same question. I hope you don't mind if I ask you again. So the question is, if you think of different areas of wellness in our lives, things like mental and artistic and spiritual and intellectual, can you think of right now an area where their wellness is lacking a bit? And if so, is there one activity you think you can do to foster wellness in that area?
The greatest area, the greatest problem with health, ill health, the greatest disease is the fact that we are born as a human, we take birth. Because when you take birth, you have as soon as you are a certain age, you start to decay.
Right.
The ultimate solution is liberation. How to be liberated from the body and mind. That is what I feel is the total solution to all problems. In other words, you live a life of liberation. It's not that you die for that. You just live a life where you are detached from your body and mind. So if the body does have some things, you are still so detached that it heals as it needs to, or it goes on, and you allow it to heal, and nature has a way of healing. But for that, we need to balance our life with good nutrition, good rest, and good exercise. It's a combination. So it's not just one thing. So I won't say meditation is the solution for everything. I would say the solution is a balanced life. I think what I lack is having a beautiful, nice balance in my life, so that there is all these three things.
Yes, it's a challenge for all of us, but I really appreciate you. I was a little worried there for a minute. You were talking about getting beyond the body and mind. In my own thinking, it's really important to take care of the body that we have with things like good nutrition and sleep, and you mentioned them. So I think we're on the same page there. Even though you're striving to get beyond them while you're here on this earth,
I agree with you, because the divine is everywhere in the body too. We have to. It's the body that helps us to discover the divine. So we have to pay attention to that.
Okay.
Very important.
Well, Shirish, thank you very much again for your time, and that's it for my end. Thanks.
Thank you, and namaste.
I'm Cameron, and welcome to another installment of The Adventures of the Starving Artist. I was having one of those days where it feels like nothing is going right, or things are against you almost. And it was the kind of mood where I didn't want to get through the rest of the day. I just wanted to go home, call it a day done, and just start over the next day, One of those. We've all been there. Let's call it a rainy day. I was having a rainy day. And right in the middle of this rainy day, I got a message on Instagram that totally changed my tune. No pun intended. So my buddy Scott, with whom I used to work in a kitchen way back, sent me a message responding to one of these little, like a 30-ish second piano nugget videos that I improvise on the keys and just kind of throw it on Instagram. Here's what I'm playing right now, And I do it honestly mostly for me, so that when I look back at them, I can, oh yeah, that was a cool little blurb. But I got this message from Scott, and it was so simple, but he said, could you do more of these? They're great to listen to while I smoke and de-stress. That little recognition of, hey, this thing you're doing is having an impact and making a difference, completely flipped my mood. It was a little encouragement went a long way. So Scott, thanks for the words of encouragement, dude. I needed it that day, and you helped me out. And I would be happy to keep making little piano improv nuggets. I hope they keep helping you de-stress and chill out. That's all I've got for you guys. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Cameron. This is The Starving Artist. Until next time.
We love our listeners, and it's great that you could join us. We could use your help. How? Listen to our episodes, subscribe to us, and rate us on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram at lets.be.well.together. And make sure you tell your friends about us.
Move that body like we're meant to do.
Somehow, we've learned to suppress ourselves.
Oh, yes.
I know you like to say resist. At least you did one time. And it makes me laugh every time I think you just way you said that, resist. So what do I mean by that is, how many times do you see someone saying like, oh, I want to go outside. I want to go for a run. I want to just get outside.
I just want to go out there and let me go. Let me go. Yeah.
Let me go.
Like
I'm
never
being held back.
Not very often.
But probably that's what we would be feeling if we weren't suppressed, if we didn't suppress ourselves with years of somehow training ourselves to turn that off.
Yes.
Turn that switch off.
Yeah. Turn it back on.
So why am I saying this? Well, because actually I was listening to one of Lori's interviews when she was talking about the early morning walk.
Right.
And she talked about the fact that if she wakes up at a certain time and she's moving around, the dogs know that it's time to go for a walk.
Yes.
And she doesn't have a choice.
Yeah. And even if she's not awake, like if she's late waking up, the dogs are like, hello,
What's
what time is it?
Here?
Yeah.
And that reminded me, I've seen this quite a few times where people who regularly take their dogs out for a nice fast walk or even a run, or they tell me that they go out at a certain time and I go, and you can just, when you get into their house, when it's that time, the dogs are like so excited.
Yes, they're like, yeah, yay. Yeah, they're just so excited. Yeah.
Or how many times you have the dog who loves to chase that ball. They just love it. Here's the ball. Let me run.
As soon as you show up in the backyard, they're like, come to you and give you the ball. Yeah.
Or else another example is you're at a park and the family, they get out of the car, they walk over to the picnic table, they settle down, and you can see the kid. Can I go now? Can I go now? Can I go now? And then like there's 2 or 3 kids and they want to do something. And then, yes, you can go now. And then off they go running. And they just love it.
Yeah, for sure. Kids, yeah, definitely. They've got that. I want to go. I want to do that. I want to try. Like maybe you're at the pool and you're just trying to get their bathing suits on and they're like already running to the splash pad. Yeah, half naked.
Yeah. So I guess I'm just lamenting the fact that somehow it's in us to just want, like, why don't I get home from work and be like, I want to go. I want to go.
I want to run.
And sometimes I do. Sometimes I am at my work in the afternoon knowing I'm going to go for a run that night and I'm looking at my watch, 3 hours. I get to run in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Not so much right now, but there have been times when that happens.
I think it's because you're doing long runs right now.
Maybe.
You're right. So it's like, you're running for a long time.
But it sure would be nice if we could tap into that, wouldn't it?
Let's do it. Let's be like, I'm going to get up and go. Let's skip. Let's run.
But I'm convinced it's there. It's inside us.
It is.
And we just have to unlock it. And somehow we should move that body.
Okay.
There's a thought. Popped up while running. For some reason, a work thought popped into my head, and ordinarily that wouldn't come onto a running pop-up, but I thought, hey, you know what? That's actually useful information for people in different contexts. So I'm a litigation lawyer, and I often have to make submissions to a judge on a case. The key there is you're trying to be persuasive. I'm not going to get into a whole bunch of different options, but at the end of the day, the facts are the facts. The law is the law. To the extent that you can influence as a lawyer, to the extent that you can influence a judge, you have to be persuasive. Part of that is also being efficient, because imagine if you were a judge and somebody was trying to persuade you about something and they were droning on and on and on and on, or they were taking an approach that you don't find useful. So here is a tip that you hear from many judges, and it's also useful in the outside world, which is forget the wind up and make the pitch. What does it mean? Well, it's fairly straightforward. Make your point and then explain it. Because a whole bunch of people have a tendency to kind of build up, thinking that keeping us in suspense will somehow make the point seem stronger. So, you might hear somebody say, would you agree with me that X, fill in whatever X is? And we say, yes. Then he'll ask if we agree about Y and Z. And we'll say, yes, we do. And then he'll say something like, well, if you agree with X, Y, and Z, then surely you agree with my conclusion. But wouldn't it be nice if he had just stated his conclusion at the outset and then explained to us why to accept it? And at the end of the day, you may not even need much of an explanation. So the quick tip that judges often give to us litigation lawyers, and you can probably use it in your everyday life, is if you have a point to make, forget the wind-up, make the pitch, make the point, and then if you feel like you have to explain it more, do that. See if you find that to be more persuasive when you're dealing with the people you're dealing with. It's me.
Yeah. Just let me say, flip side of the coin.
So it was my last long training run before I ran my last marathon. And I was kind of excited to get it done when I was doing it, but I was kind of bummed out by something I saw.
Okay, John, tell us what you saw.
I was about 2 or 3 kilometers into my run when it happened the first time.
Okay.
I turn a corner, I'm running on a sidewalk, and it was a really nice day, and there's lots of stuff going on around, and I see somebody walking up the street. I think they were heading toward work, and they were glued head down looking at their phone. Mm-hmm. And I saw them from a good few hundred meters away, and the entire time I was running towards them and they were walking towards me, they never looked up.
Never? Oh my goodness.
Never looked up. And they kind of heard me coming last minute. So like, I wasn't going to hit them or anything, but
right.
She still didn't look up. She just kept walking, but moved over a bit.
Oh my goodness.
And I didn't really think much of it, just other than, And then a couple kilometers later, exactly the same thing, but this time a guy.
And this is on a path?
No, it's on a sidewalk.
Okay, on the sidewalk. Right, but still.
And it wasn't like, oh, you shouldn't do that. It was just like, oh man.
You're missing out.
You're not seeing people walking by you. You're not smiling. You're not seeing the world. You're not seeing the sun. You're not seeing anything. You're not seeing the trees you're walking by. And I don't know. I just find it a bit depressing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it is a little sad. I see it all the time, actually. So for me, it's even a little scary because, are you aware of what's going on? But I do think, and I see this a lot when they're walking their dog or pushing a stroller and they've got their phone right in front of them.
Pushing a stroller?
Yeah. So they'll have their arms on the stroller and they're pushing there and they've got their phone there and they're like, yeah. Yeah.
Aren't you out strolling your child because you're trying to get the child to experience outside?
Yeah, but they don't have to experience, I guess. I don't know. Me, it's a social thing too, interacting with the dogs or interacting with the child or interacting with people and seeing things that are happening out in the environment, there's lots of people out there and birds.
Smell the flowers.
And
look at the birds. And
yeah.
I don't know, I almost felt like, so I remember these old movies. I can't remember is it Brave New World where it's like Soma. Everyone's on this drug and they just go to work.
Oh, yes.
Right? It's just like, is that what we're going to be in 5 years? We're all just going to be walking up the street looking at our phones. Soma.
I do not know what movie you're talking about, but it definitely reminds me of when I used to go to Toronto, go for lunch or meet you and seeing everyone getting off the GO train and then walking in those tunnels to work. And it just looked like robots.
A procession of robots. Here we go to work.
Yeah.
Well, I told you though that to me, it depended on my mood. Right. So just as a quick aside on that. Mm-hmm. So in Toronto, if you go to the main train station, Union Station, there's a whole bunch of underground pathways to get to office buildings that stretch on for like a kilometer or more.
Yeah.
Because it's so cold in winter, they figured out that, if they do all this underground, it's easier. And if I was in a really sad mood or bad mood and I didn't want to go to work that day and I just felt like my life was the same thing repeating over and over again, that's what it felt like.
Right.
But if I happened to be going to work and I was like, whoa, today's going to be a great day and I got all this energy, then I picked up on all the people like that who are in the tunnel. So you kind of get what you're feeling, get back what you're feeling on that one.
Oh, okay. Because for me, it was just watching them and I was literally not on a timeline or anything. I was sitting on a bench and just like watching everyone walking and they all are kind of wearing the same colored suits and it was just a little odd to me. But I can get that.
That you feed off whatever you're feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
So then I kept running and believe it or not, I saw that play out again at least 3 more times.
Wow.
On one run. I won't tell you how long it was though.
Okay. That's okay. You're running. Yeah, that's surprising.
So it's not, I'm not yelling at them. I'm not complaining to them. I'm not judging them. I'm just saying, it's sad to see that in this world we're living in, so many people, you can't really get the enjoyment of seeing the people and the stuff around you.
Well, it's interesting because I remember quite a few years ago, like when cell phones were first starting and people were saying that to be able to unplug will be a luxury.
Right. That it's only people with lots of money or that aren't glued to jobs that will be able to unplug. So if you're on a beach without a phone, that's a good thing. You've
reached it. Where at that time, they were expensive and not everyone had them. And so everyone wanted them. And it was a real thing, like you made it if you had a cell phone or something.
Yeah. So some number of years ago, it was only the affluent who had a phone on the beach. Mm-hmm. And some years from now, it'll only be the affluent who don't have a phone on the beach.
Right. And I at the time I was like, really? I don't see that because nobody has phones. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's only luxury. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that has happened.
Because the rest of us have to be tied to our jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one other last thing that reminds me of, so we went to Korea when I was with Rotary. And we got off the airplane.
Yeah.
And we decided, like, we like taking subways and public transport. We just find it fun. And so we got on, this was the first time for me, I got onto a train and everybody was looking at their phone.
Oh.
Remember that?
Yes.
We were like, this is so weird. Like,
so weird. Yeah. Because
everybody's looking at their phone.
We didn't have data or anything. We couldn't look at our phone. So we were just watching everyone.
Train full of people.
Looking at their phone. And it was a pretty long train ride. So, but yeah.
Well, we will look at our phones. Please remember that we're not providing advice. We hope to inspire you to work towards balance, and we urge you to consult with qualified people if you need advice. The people on the show are speaking in their personal capacities. Their views expressed are their own, and don't represent the views or opinions of their outside contacts, their employers, or anyone else. We try to get things right, but we can't guarantee everything we say is correct, or that the things we talk about will work for you. Let's be well together, and let's be sure to do that in a safe way.
And that is the end of today's episode, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. This is Sammy, Sheila, and John here for their sign-off.
Hey.
Hello.
So for me, this past weekend was super, super busy. We finally got all of our stuff into the house, minus things like clothing and personal items. So still a busy week of sorting through all that and actually living in the home is our next step.
So you haven't slept there yet?
No, haven't slept there yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's getting close.
It's looking nice though. It's looking good, and we're really happy with the outcome. So yeah, It's been a long time, but it's here.
Yay!
What do you got going on, Sheila?
Well, I actually got a really bad cold this week. So that was a bit of a drag. I worked and then I had 4 days off in a row, and like exactly the 4 days off, I've been really sick. I'm feeling better though today. So hopefully, I can get back feeling better and doing things. But I went to the gym, so I was excited about that. And this weekend we went to the Frederick Art Walk, and that was really fun, eh, John?
Yeah, it's so there's an area of town that's kind of known as the Frederick area, Frederick Street area. And there's a bunch of artisans who do a little art walk show there every year. So maybe there's 10 or 12, maybe even more spaces. So you go in and one house might have 2 or 3 things set up and one might have one set up. But you'll see things like paintings or knitting or all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah, I really liked it. This year they did a lot more outside. The last time we went, which was before COVID, you go into people's houses. So I felt like it was a little tighter. But this time everyone was out in tents and they had their own tents. So there'd be 4 or 5 artisans at a house, and then you'd walk maybe, another block and there'd be 4 or 5 artisans there. So yeah, no, we really liked it, and we bought some art.
Yeah, we found some amazing stuff, and because they're local, it was really great prices too.
Yeah.
We told a couple of them that they could probably afford to charge a little more.
Yeah, John kept telling everyone, I'm like, don't say anything. So that was great, and we actually went out and voted for the, I think Sunday was the last day for
municipal elections.
Yeah, for our municipal election, and we went and voted. So I just wanted to promote everyone to get out there and vote.
Yes, if you've got an election coming up, have your say.
Anyways, that's it for me. So what about you, John?
So I also really enjoyed the art walk. A quick note on our episode today. It was the second interview we did with Dr. Shirish Nathwani. And I know it's a bit hard to understand at times, but I hope you got as much out of it as I did. On the kind of running front. So the good news is, it sounds funny. I think I've said this. Now that I'm done my marathon, I'm going to try and get in shape. I should have done it before the marathon. But anyway, I was spending so much time running. I wasn't doing stuff like core and strength. I was being a little lazy. So this week, I'm actually going to try and get my eating back under control. And then next week or the week after, yet to be determined, I'm going to start adding some exercise. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, well, I went to the gym this week and I'm a little sore because I haven't gone to the gym, since before London. So my legs are really sore. I did legs 2 days ago. Oh.
And then on the running side, I've just, you really have to take time off after a marathon. But I also have that streak where I'm trying to do at least one run of 10 kilometers a week. So I did that the last couple of weeks. But other than that, I'm just going to slowly get back into it. So that's kind of where I'm at this week.
Yeah. Should we wish Elise a happy birthday? It was her birthday yesterday.
Yes, it was our daughter's birthday.
Yeah,
Happy
happy birthday. Yep.
Birthday.
Yeah, and that's it for me. How about you guys?
Yeah, that's it. Anything for you, Sammy?
I'll go get over here.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us this week, everyone. And we hope you enjoyed the show, like Sammy said, and hope you enjoy next week's as well.
That is it for today's show. Please try and make wellness a priority.
You deserve it.
If you feel the need to talk to someone or ask for help, please do that.
Accept yourself for the person you are.
So long.
Adieu.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.